Welcome to Scorched Earth and general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant and Descendant for the month of September, if you can believe that. I hope you're well. Using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. Close the window in a second once the cauldron's burned down. So, do I have anything to tell you? I do not. Let's get straight on with your cards. Go have 3 cards for Sagittarius, please. Thank you. We have the 9 of Cups in your recent past. Let's have a look at present energy, please. Present energy is Temperance. There you are, Sagittarius. And what's coming towards Sagittarius for September, please? Thank you. We have the Page of Cups. Wow. Pretty emotional time for you at the moment, Sag. We have the 5 of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Now, that is to do with grief and loss, you know, a sense of loss. I've been feeling that somewhat rising in you for a while, Sag. It's not that you're miserable. There's no misery. It feels more like a turning around and facing what has been a sense of grief that you have carried with you for a long time. But it seems to be coming from a very emotionally mature place. It's coming from a place of absolute healing, actually, and we see that replicated out here in the cards. And we'll pull some clarifiers and see what else is going on here. But I mean, this looks really good. So, tell me about this 9 of Cups, please. Ooh, for Sagittarius, good Lord. We have the Magician. Got a whole heap of cards trying to jump out but not quite managing it here, right? Tell me about the 9 of Cups, please, for Sagittarius. We've got the Devil, okay. Tell me about Temperance, please. 9 of Cups. And the 6 of Cups. Ooh, we've got another collapsing timelines deal going on here, Sag. Alright, tell me about Page of Cups, please, for Sagittarius. Thank you. We have the Ace of Pentacles. This is beautiful. I love where this is going. Tell me about Page of Cups. Knight of Swords. Ooh. There you are. Again, at the bottom of the deck. There's a real sense of you coming back to yourself. And in fact, transmuting. We've got 3 of Swords going into the 10 of Cups. And you absolutely galloping at this. You know, I guess this sense of transmuting a 3 of Swords energy into a 10 of Cups. Now, it could be that the 10 of Cups is the motivation for you doing this. It's for the well-being of the people around you at this time. And I do feel like there are better people. There's a better class of people around you now than there has been at any other point in your life. And that can be motivating. I remember reading somewhere, I don't know, it was in some sort of self-help thing or something like that, that, you know, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And a well-balanced person will have a variety of different friends. Like, it's not just yourself replicated 5 times, right? Actually, for me, that would probably be hideously annoying if there was, well, Penta 5's in charge and all, right? I just, like, I probably get more done, but there being this thing of, if you want to improve as a person, then you need to look at the people that you're spending your time with. And if you want to become a more compassionate person, then you should spend time with someone who represents that level of compassion that you would like to achieve. If you would like to be, I don't know, more more of a critical thinker, then spend time around somebody who is a critical thinker, you know, because we tend to absorb these things by osmosis from the people that we are around. And the people that are around you at the moment are a better vibrational match, and there is much that you can learn from them, but equally there is much that they can learn from you. And this feels to be something very inspiring for you about this set of people at this time. And, you know, the way the world is at the moment, these could even just be people that you're talking to online, you know. You don't have to be physically right in front of you. But this is a really nice start, Sagittarius. It's the 9 of Cups. And it's nice because you've been going through somewhat of a spiritual awakening. I feel that very, very strongly. And what we see here in the center of this card is a little angel. It's got wings, it's curled up, it's fetal. You know, there's something of a rebirth, I feel, for you that is going on at this moment. And it feels like it's full of joy for you. I mean, it's a vulnerable time, but it feels safer than any other point that you've been in your life, where you've potentially been less vulnerable but more threatened, you know. And now this rebirth is happening, has very much begun, actually. And this sense of being reborn into something that is much gentler, something that is much more compassionate, something that is much more emotionally nurturing, and yet is so powerful. It's like the beginning step of really starting to tap into your potential, Sagittarius. And I can see why this would be wildly exciting for you. You know, you are an explorer. You are someone who likes to push the limits of things. And I feel like what you're doing with yourself at the moment is pushing the limits that you have put in place to keep you safe, you know, up until this point. And kind of crashing out beyond them and going, wow, there's all this new land that I can go out and explore. I can discover new things. And you're discovering new things about yourself, but you're discovering new things about the world at the same time. You know, it feels like there's been a layer of reality that is open to you. You know, if you want to get philosophical about it, I mean, I don't know, like I was reading an article on simulation theory last night, and so I'm all like kind of up with that. But you know, we often speak in spiritual circles about how reality is what you think it is, right? It's generally not what you think it is. But the point being that you kind of imagine your reality into existence, particularly if you're dealing with simulation theory, because, you know, there's not enough computing power to make reality exist all at the same time, right? You have to kind of unveils in front of you, right, as it's getting processed. Sorry, it's early in the morning and I don't think I've quite marshalled my thoughts yet. But we've got the Magician and the Devil here, and it feels to me quite interesting that they are in a position which up until literally just now I'd never noticed was exactly the same. You know, we often speak about how the Lovers is exactly the same card as the Devil. When you look at it, right, it's structured identically. You have that same, you know, mythical creature, whether it be a devil or an angel, you know. And then we have these two naked people down here who are either stood there and very, very comfortable, or stood there chained by the neck. And the difference is where you're coming from a place of fear or coming from a place of love and free will and all those things that the Lover's card represents, right? But looking at these two characters, what we've got is a sense of you slipping the leash here, Sagittarius. and almost slipping out from underneath the fear that has ruled you for such a long time. You know, instead of 3 characters here, we have 1. It's all contracted in. There's a rejection of anything that would try and establish a sense of mastery over you, whether it be fear or anything else. You know, this contraction, it's feeling very similar to the kind of Chariot card feel that I have, you know. I don't think I'm explaining this terribly well. But in the Chariot card, you've got 2 Sphinxes, and then you've got the Charioteer, right? And the Charioteer is that point of integration between the 2 of them. He is the one that kind of aligns it. But in the Wild Unknown deck, the Chariot is depicted as just a horse, right? Just 1 character, a horse. And what you've got there is a contraction from 3 characters down to 1, because the horse contains all of the things that is in the Chariot card, right? It's got the mind of the Charioteer. It knows where it wants to go. It's going to go that way. It's got the determination and the willpower to make sure that it travels the road that it wants to travel, but it also has the power with it. You know, the power that would come from the Sphinxes pulling the Chariot now is contained within 1 body. And it feels to me like, Sag, you've been pushing your own boundaries a little bit in terms of looking for what this represents to you inside of you. And so you may well have been doing a little bit of self-exploration in terms of the past, because you're sitting at a point of wisdom now that you have not achieved at any point in your life before. And, you know, minute to minute ever was it thus, you know, you're always hoping that you know a little bit more by the end of the day than you did when you started the day. We don't want to be going backwards, we want to be going forwards in terms of the acquisition of wisdom. But sometimes that does involve necessarily going back and looking at old situations and viewing them differently. And it could well be that you are doing that, but I feel like the way forward for you is becoming increasingly clear in a way that it hasn't done before. You know, you've had specific goals and things that you were after, but they felt kind of relatively low level, and certainly to a point quite 3D in nature. Whereas now there's something that's been unshackled. And where the devil was occupying a lot of your mind, whether you were paying attention to it or not, now what is coming through is this Magician, right? It's a sense of knowing your own power. And maybe you don't know the extent of your own power yet, but that's okay, because we're still at this fairly fetal point here, Sag, right? But the sense of empowerment that is coming through now is getting very, very strong. It's interesting that the Magician card is you know, sometimes considered to be Gemini, and I feel it's quite a Gemini card, to be honest, but that's because I'm working off the abracadabra, you know, I create as I speak. It seems like a very Gemini thing to me, but it can also be Virgo. But I often feel an association with Sagittarius that I don't see documented anywhere, and more specifically when the Magician is depicted as a shaman, because there's something very shamanic about the way that you can travel around. Now, well, I'll get to that bit in a second, right? Where there was dark, now there is light. Where there was enslavement, now there is liberation. Where there was stasis, there's now movement. Like, as spiritual awakenings go, Saji, you're doing pretty fucking well. And the most important thing I do feel is this cup that I'm looking at here on the Magician's table. Because you've always been pretty good at manifesting whatever you needed. Well, certainly from a 3D point of view, right? But the emotion was the key. The emotion was the thing that was stopping you reaching your full potential. And here it is. You've discovered it. You've been reborn. And the potential is endless. The magician is only limited by the bounds of his own imagination. And you're pretty imaginative. Sagittarius, you can see all sorts of things. There's an excitement about all of this reading, and I'm feeling it feels almost giddy at points. We're moving to your current energy, and we've got Temperance. Well, that is the card of Sagittarius, and so here is you stamping on this reading with your central who's and going, "Oh, I'm fucking here," you know. But there's a bit more to it than that, because it's also a card of profound healing. And one cannot make the shift from devil to magician without a considerable amount of healing going on, and in fact, you know, some sort of emotional rebirth. But there is also a sense of divine guidance here. There is a sense of you being directed. And you're not being told which way to go. It feels like a really intuitive leap that you've managed to take. You've always been really, really intuitive. Like, anyway, right? Anything that moves as fast as you do needs to have a really heightened sense of intuition, really sharp observational skills, so that they can swerve away from anything that might look like it could be a trap, right? As we've discussed before, there are ways that you fell into a trap because you didn't notice, but I feel like those don't apply in quite the same way anymore. This is something else. And whether this is your higher self or what, it does seem like you've stepped up. And this guidance is more like it's a little tug, like, oh, I've got to go this way, you know? It's the same as you've always experienced, but magnified up, extrapolated up to a degree that you've never experienced before. And there's something about the way that you can respond to that. It's trusting that it's working in tandem with you, and it's not trying to trap you. It's not trying to restrict you in any way. And, you know, at any point, Sagittarius, you can decide whether you're going to listen to that little tug or not, you know. So in effect, it is effectively self-directed. But it's clarified by these two further cups cards here. We've got the Nine of Cups again, and we've got the Six of Cups. And this seems like a very straightforward path to healing that you're traveling at the moment. There's a lot going very, very right for you at the moment. You might not have the things that you want, and you may not, you know, there may be considerations, but when it comes to the important things, there's gratitude spilling out of every pore for you. And this is important because where you are at the moment, I said, as collapsing timelines. I've mentioned this in a couple of the videos that I've done so far when it appeared to be relevant, but I watched a video by Radiant Reality a few days ago. And I happened to watch it whilst in the middle of the weirdest afternoon that I've had in a very, very fucking long time. And in that, Ruff was talking about this being a point where it was possible to collapse old timelines, right? And this is important because we're not just talking about changing from, you know, one version of yourself to another, where you could kind of look back at the past and say, right, well, I was this way in the past, but all of these things were going on and it was kind of, you know, logical and reasonable and all that sort of thing. But now, you know, I've thought about it, and you know, I resolved to change the ways that I do things. Although that is important, and it's important to pay attention to the way that you respond to everything. But more, this seems like the subconscious is very powerful. And a lot of the time, the patterns that we follow are so deeply rooted that it doesn't occur to us that we can do it any other way, right? No, I know that most people who've ever engaged in any kind of work on themselves will understand that to one degree or another, but there are levels to everything. Like I said, when you first start doing your work, you hit all of the really big, obvious stuff here, and as you go down, mining down deeper and deeper and deeper, it's levels, and you know, you'll go away from it for a bit, and then you'll come back and you'll be like, holy shit, you know, what I've learned in the interim now allows me to see this aspect of stuff here about the way that I do things, the way that I respond, all that sort of thing. But some levels of programming are so insidious and so deeply rooted that they become really slippery, and it's really, really difficult to kind of dig them out, you know. And to a degree, in one way or another, that old timeline is still trying to play its way out, right? It may change its form slightly, but ultimately it's still there. To collapse a timeline altogether is to eradicate any aspect of that from your current thinking. Now, you are the Knight of Wands, right? It gets a bad rap, which I feel is, you know, well, it's deserved in some cases, but not fully. And like with every card in the tarot, there are negatives and positive aspects to the card. One of the glorious aspects of the Knight of Wands is his immediacy, is his ability to be present in the here and now. When you have a Knight of Wands in your midst, they are so focused on what is going on right now. They're not thinking about the past, they're not thinking about the future. It is about right now and what is happening. Or it should be, in its purest form. But because of the defense mechanisms that you put in, and these are part of what you've been pulling out for a while now, Sag, it wasn't always exactly so. Or maybe there was some sort of kickback in you and you just did something reckless, and you did something that you know you were going to face consequences for later down the line. But it was like, I've been so restricted, I need to vent, I need to express this in some way. And so, you know, maybe indulged in an act of hedonism that was not terribly well advised, and that you paid consequences for later, you know. This feels like it's a release of the little snapping dog that snaps at your ankles and makes you feel kind of jittery about stuff, you know. It's really deep work, Sag, and this is where you are at the moment. That need to release tension is a symptom of there being something in your life that is causing you tension. Okay, it seems obvious when I put it that right. But what you seem to be doing is going for the root cause. No, not the symptoms. Not trying to modify your behavior whilst not paying attention to what is going on in your subconscious, but actually directing your arrow specifically at the root cause of things. So you could be pulling all sorts of things out from your past that you had not realized quite affected you in the way that you did, in the way that they have done, and looking at them and going, well, shit, I didn't realize that bothered me so much, but here it is. You know, we're looking at the root, not at the symptom. And when you pull something out by the root, you're collapsing that timeline altogether. This seems to be what you're doing, Sagittarius. It is profound, deep work, and I see you. I see what you're doing here, and it's brilliant. It's genius level stuff, and it's freeing you up to access your personal power in a way that you have never done before. You may have impressed yourself with your own energy at points in the past, but it is as nothing compared to what it is that you can achieve moving forwards from here. It feels like there's nothing tainting, or there will be nothing tainting your energy or your power moving forwards. There's certainly no restriction. And I think it's come as quite a shock to a lot of you, the extent to which you have restricted yourself. That very thing that you've tried to avoid your entire life, you've actually done it to yourself. Well, no more, apparently, Sagittarius. So what we've got coming towards you in September is the Page of Cups. And I love this. I absolutely love it for you, because if you are being reborn here, then September and this Page of Cups, where we have an actual person here instead of a little fetal angel, feels like it's the point at which you are making your grand entrance into the world proper. You know, the page is actually winged, right? It feels to me like these are the same two characters here, but at different stages of development. And so you come from fetal to here. Now, it says that you still have much to learn, Sagittarius, but fucking good. Because if you knew everything, there would be no point in you being here. And this exploration of new ideas, of new emotional states, of new everything, right? Getting to experience things anew seems to be really lighting you up at the moment. You know, there's something pretty tragic about a jaded Sagittarius who lost their interest in stuff, right? Lost their interest in exploring new things. And what we see here is almost the ability to see the world with different eyes, which makes everything new. And these new set of eyes come from this cup here on the table, the one that you're finally accessing. It's like you're looking at yourself differently in the present. You're looking at yourself differently in the past. You're looking at other people differently. You're looking at situations differently. And what you want from life seems to have done a complete about face in a significantly short time. And it seems to me like you're here for it all day long, Sagittarius. Now, this Page of Cups indicates, you know, the pages seem to speak to me of a slight change in direction, right? We're going off on a different path, and you absolutely are going off on a different path, and one that is filled with much more emotion than you have hitherto been comfortable experiencing. But we also have the Ace of Pentacles. We have new opportunities here, you know. Now, the thing with the whole cup suit is it's quite ephemeral. You know, it's difficult to kind of nail it down into something that you can perceive in real life. But the Ace of Pentacles is making this solid. And the Ace of Pentacles can talk about new opportunities in the 3D, right? It's sometimes a way of improving your finances. It's a new job, you know, new career, something like that. Promotion. It can be new material gains, like a new house or stuff. Things like that. But for me, it seems like it is a signal for you. It is in some way a recognition of what it is that you've been working on all this time. It feels like an adjustment of your circumstances. You know, as above, so below, as within, so without, you know, the world and reality as you experience it being a mirror of what is inside. You have changed so dramatically that it seems like your circumstances are about to change dramatically too. I'm going to pull one more card for this because I'm so super nosy, right? Tell me about the Six of Pentacles, please. Sagittarius. Oh, they flew out. We've got the Three of Swords and the Page of Cups. For some of you, there's a really important conversation happening this month, and it is super important, right? It's not just a passing conversation with someone in the supermarket. This seems like a way of accessing a deep pain, right? Remember that when I pulled the shadow cards, we had you and there was the Three of Swords, and I said there was a transmutation. That's what it felt like to me. Transmutation of this to this. It is bringing harmony and peace to a situation that has been fractured, has been bloody for a long time. Right? We've got this Knight of Swords here. But there it is again. There's the transmutation again. This is healing. This is forgiveness. This is compassion. You know, it could well be for some of you, and we'll get into this in the extended. We'll have a deeper look. Some of you may be bumping into somebody in the past, from the past rather, who is that direct link to something that has been very painful. And it could well be, well, for some of you it might involve an apology, frankly, but it seems like an opportunity to heal that, to bring balance to that, you know, collapsing timelines and all. For others of you, it's a new start in such a way as it's almost like a repeat of a situation that you've had before. But this time you choose differently, this time you do things differently, this time you're approaching the whole situation differently, you know? And that is what is sufficient to collapse the timeline. All right, Saggies, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go straight over to Vimeo now. So if you want to hear the extended, that's the first link in the description box. The 6-month overviews is the second link down there. If you would like to join me over here, then that's all cool. If not, that is also cool. September is a big month for you. It's a really big month for you, and I think that you will feel no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. That's all I want to say about that. Alright, know that I love you all very much, and I'll see you soon.